Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is brought to you by you. If you want to learn how to support our show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punching Up, your bi-weekly Nintendo podcast from Last Stand Media. I'm your host, Dustin, and here with me, once again, I'm sorry, not the full crew. Our boy Dagan said he lost his throat. Maybe going a little too wild at the wedding. I don't know. But we are going to start ladies first this week because we have our very own Mama Micah, Micah Moriarty now? I'm trying to remember. You took the name, right?
I will be, yes.
You will be, okay.
I can't yet, obviously, because there's new paperwork. So
Sure.
I will indeed be Michael Moriarty, which I'm very excited about, but it's not official yet. As of right now, I'm still, Michael Watson, 30 years going strong. But yeah, once I get the marriage certificate, copy, whatever, from the courthouse, then I can submit that and start the name change process. But yeah, that's going to take a bit of time. It's frustrating because I was so excited about it. And then it's like, oh, you have to wait for all this fucking paperwork. So
yeah, I mean, I would say legally, of course, you're not Micah Moriarty yet, but you were married in front of all your friends and family. You're Micah Moriarty, I think, to us. So
wow, that's good to hear.
Yeah. So I got to say, Micah, congratulations, of course. We were just at the wedding, 48 hours ago, I think, ish, around then. And it was a fantastic, beautiful wedding. And I'm sure we're going to be every show this week. We're going to be talking about it to some degree. But congratulations. How do you feel? Relieved at this point? I mean, I know it's hectic getting married, obviously.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, firstly, thank you to both of you and everybody, from Last Stand that was able to show up, including Dustin's parents, who I had the time of my life dancing with, Holly and Marcia, Ben and Emily and Dustin. We just were out there all night. It was awesome.
We go hard. Furmans go hard.
Yeah, we did, right? And I am relieved is the word for it, because the lead up to the wedding, for the most part, I had everything under control. I really was diligent about getting things planned months in advance. I had all my vendors booked by, July of this year, basically. I had everything booked, and then we just paid all our final balances. We really had it all set. The most hectic part was that the week of the wedding, we had 11 people cancel on us. And, for various reasons, some people...
Wow.
It ended up being 13 because I didn't even notice that at the wedding, one of my uncles and his wife was missing. I was so overwhelmed that and they had told us if they were coming. They never told us they weren't going to be there. And then it was later on, I was like, where is, Uncle so-and-so? And my sister's like, yeah, he didn't show up, but she's like, I didn't want to say it because you didn't seem to notice. It's I didn't notice because I was so overwhelmed. But that was the most hectic part. What part was just telling the coordinator, okay, we lost 6 people. They were able to refund us for the first 6. But then after that point, we'd already paid our deposit. So the following, number of people that weren't there, we weren't able to get refunded for.
That's rough.
But none of that. But it's one of those, it didn't matter. The place was full. Everybody was dancing, talking, having a good time. It was still fantastic regardless. So, I mean, I am indeed relieved that it's done with, because it was over a year of planning it. It felt though a blur, that's what everybody tells you. But looking at the photos, it's I can't believe it's already done and over with. It's bizarre, but no, it was a great time. And I'm glad you guys had fun, because that was the number one goal, of course, is I hope the guests and everybody has a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. And introducing, of course, our other co-host for the day, Gene Park, who I gotta say, I'm glowing because I got to spend a lot of extra time with Gene, because we picked him up the day before. We stayed at the same hotel, drove around together, drove down to Richmond together. And so it was just such a awesome time hanging with you, dude. How are you today after all the festivities?
Yeah, we even had breakfast together and everything. It's great.
IHOP, yeah.
We had a little IHOP right across the street.
Oh man, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I think Holly was saying, "Wow, IHOP's a lot better than I expected." I was like, "IHOP's always been good. IHOP's always
love
been
IHOP.
Good. Yeah, IHOP's always been pretty quality, better than Denny's, honestly."
Oh yeah.
LSM, not sponsored by IHOP. IHOP, if you're listening,
Hit us
we
up.
might. Right? It's not endemic advertising, right? It's not. It's not
No.
like.
No, yeah, pancakes. Though they
Yeah,
did
it's
have
not-
Magic the Gathering themed pancakes there. So
What?
yeah, I don't know what was that. There was some kind of thing on the table about Magic the Gathering pancakes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we definitely didn't read into it further. I was like, okay, well, that's there. Yeah, had a great time. Micah, it was so nice to finally meet everyone. Really, you and Colin too. Yeah, it was such a great time. The music was funny. Most of the wedding, because I can't like dance. I can't exert myself. I didn't dance at all. So most of the wedding, I was just kicking back with Old Man Cog, and we were just reminiscing about all the old songs that they were playing. You know, Lady Gaga, Whitney Houston, all the old hits of our youths. So
Yeah.
of our
Yeah,
respective
that was
youth.
the
I think
goal.
Whitney Houston is Cog's age, and Lady Gaga is my era. So.
So yeah, it was a fantastic time. Glad we all got to spend time together. Unfortunately, like I said, Dagan is out. I don't know. He lost his voice. I don't know. Was he hanging like screaming? I don't know what happened. I know his boy PJ was there. Who I gotta say,
Yes.
PJ. I told him like you're a legend amongst LSM lore. He's like, oh no, you know. And I was like, I didn't expect him to be the, you know, I didn't. That's not what I expected PJ to be like. But that was actually one of the most interesting parts of the wedding, was connecting all of the dots of the Last Stand lore that you've only heard in legend, and then seeing these people in person.
Yeah,
awesome.
Colin's best friend Ramon, who is the composer of all of LSM content shows, right? The super cool theme songs. That was one of the things that really struck me when I first listened to Sacred Symbol. I was like, oh, I like that intro song. It's just like a messy garage band sound, you know, just a crashing chord. And yeah, I thought I saw Ramon. I was like, that looks like Ramon, and it sure enough it was. And I was so happy to actually finally meet. You know, it's like meeting like mythical legends. You know,
yeah, definitely.
you know that's why it was like nice to meet Micah too, and Jerry and Betty Ann, Colin's parents. And Dagan too, meeting Dagan for the first time. Dagan was shorter. You know, Colin said that I was taller than he expected.
Yes.
Because Colin and I are about the same height. Colin's like I think he's about half an inch taller than I am, but I did not expect Dagan to be shorter than Colin, because you know Dagan looks like a tall, lanky fella, you know. So
yeah,
that turned out to be Colin and me. So
that's right. Yeah,
but yeah, this is the first post-marital episode of LSM that we're recording, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, this is the first one. So it'll be, because this comes out today, and then Sacred Sweethearts 2 comes out Wednesday on Patreon, and that was recorded before the wedding. So you're getting another, you're getting a pre-baked one, and then after that will be all present tense. But in terms of this show, of course, this is Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast. It comes from Last Stand Media. We post the show on Tuesdays for our Patreon audience. You can sign up there for just $5 a month. You get early access to this show. You get early access to Sacred, Defining Duke, Constellation, Knockback, all that good stuff. And you also get bonus episodes of Sacred Symbols Plus, Defining Duke Ultimate. Get access to our Discord at the $5 level. You can go hang out with us there. Of course, there's other tiers as well. But yeah, consider checking us out at patreon.com/laststandmedia if you enjoy the show. And we have quite the show today here on Punching Up. I wish Dagan was here, because our main topic is going to be talking about Super Mario Brothers Wonder. So many of you guys wrote in about this game, and it's nice. We were able to talk about it like a little bit last week. I know Gene had played it on the last episode, but Micah and I hadn't played it yet. And so now, yeah, we're a week after release, and man, this game is special. I am in love with this game completely. I just, it's one of those games when I sit down to play it, I feel like I gotta savor it. You know, the one night, I think it was Friday night at my parents' house, Ben and I were just staying up playing games, hanging out while everyone had went to bed. And I played through a whole world, and I almost was mad at myself. I was like, oh man, I can't be doing that all in one sitting. Like just
blast through it, right?
Yeah, savor it. So, Gene, I'll throw this over to you first. How are you feeling about Mario Wonder? Now you are unleashed from any embargo or anything like that. You can tell us how you're feeling about it. So what are your thoughts?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't gotten much farther in Mario Wonder. I think I'm about halfway.
Okay.
And that's rough because the game's not that long and the game's not that hard. Which is why, like Micah, if you want to play a 2D Mario game, this might actually be the one.
Oh yeah, I started it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I can't wait to hear your thoughts then. But I haven't gotten that farther because I'm trying to do some damage on Alan Wake 2 now. I started that last night, and I brought my Nintendo Switch to the wedding because I really wanted to try. Maybe I can get some Mario Wonder in time after the wedding at the hotel room. Unfortunately, I ended up playing my other favorite video game, swiping on Tinder in random new areas that I'm in. So I wanted to check out, the Richmond area, see what kind of options are available. And it was interesting.
You said a particular style of photo that you saw around. That was the most interesting part. The next day, you were telling us about the car seat photo, right?
Yes. It was revelatory because I've been a city boy for the last 8 years, right? So the Tinder photos are always at a museum or at a bar or at the fucking White House or something, And then so I go to Richmond and I'm in a suburban area. And a lot of older women, and they're all in their car. They're all like wearing their seatbelts, and it's a lot of selfies wearing sunglasses. It's a feminine version of that MAGA meme, of the Trump supporter meme, where it's just a bunch of dudes in hats and in sunglasses in their trucks. I'm not saying that they're all Trump supporters. I'm just saying that these are suburban moms in their cars.
It's true because just me going on just Bumble BFF last year when I was just trying to meet some
that's right.
like
you
friends.
About that, yeah.
And it was though, like half of the photos are just women in cars, like you said, sunglasses on, like posed, even with the seatbelt still on though. And it was just funny. I was like, why are most of these photos in cars? Like you don't have any other pictures. Like it was just funny though that was the general vibe. It's like women in cars. That's what you'll find on here.
Yeah, I forgot that everyone drives here. Micah drives too, obviously. Colin doesn't drive, so you wouldn't find Colin in a car in there. That'd be really funny. And yeah, it was just women in cars, and I also mentioned on the Discord, that it was nice to see women with fat asses as opposed to the coked out city girls that I'm used to. So I was like, hell yeah, I could see myself coming back here. Unfortunately, that detracted from Super Mario Wonder.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely halfway through. I love Mario Wonder. I think I said it before that it just reminds me of Yoshi's Island. It is a lot easier though than I expected, and that was one thing. I'm interested to see how it ends, and I'm interested to see what other Wonder tricks. I think by now everyone knows like what level 2 is. Dustin texted me right after he saw it, and he was like, "Oh, dude!" And I was like, "Yeah, level 2. Like, if level 2 goes that hard, imagine how the rest of the game is. Imagine how confident they are in whatever the rest of the game holds." So, I like the badges. I really like the badges so much because I think that is what makes the game so much easier because you have so much options. It's like, oh, the water level. How about a badge that makes you swim like really, really good? You don't have to wait for like the frog suit in like you do in Super Mario 3. You don't have to go back to the one level to get the frog suit and then go back to the water level and hope you don't lose your frog suit as you're going through the water level to navigate the Super Mario 3 water level. Now he can just get the badge with the good swimming badge and just use it all the time,
Yeah, the badges, I've been enjoying discovering them because I don't know, like I haven't looked at any videos that have like the full list or anything. So it's like, what other mechanics are they going to add and stuff like that? But before I go in, Micah, you said you've picked this up. You checked it out. You had a busy week, but it sounds like you still got some time in. How are you finding Mario Wonder?
Yeah, so it was incredibly busy week, obviously. I made a little bit of time to play it. I only got to play, though, the first level. But my God, like the music, the graphics. And like Gene said, maybe it's a detractor for other people. It's easy enough for me to play. And I know it's only the first level, but I have in the past been completely thwarted by first levels of other platformers. Embarrassingly so. I'm going to share a story I've never told anybody, I don't think, which is at PAX East a couple of years ago. It was before the Crash Bandicoot remastered, trilogy came out, and they had a demo booth for it. And I wasn't getting in line because the line was really long, but the lady saw me kind of like standing outside the rope and she was like, "Oh, just come on over." So I went to play it. I literally, though, I hadn't played Crash Bandicoot since I was a child, and I could not get past like the first jump. and people were laughing at me. And I remember like I tried it a couple times, and then I like smiled at the lady. I was like, "Thank you," and I like walked away. I wanted to like cry.
It's our own Cuphead tutorial moment right there.
Oh my god, no, yeah, because I literally I didn't want to play the demo because I knew I know I'm bad at these games. I did indeed get the Crash Bandicoot remastered, had a lot of fun with it. I did get past that part, okay, but in front of all those people, and when I wasn't expecting to have to play it, I was just like too frazzled to do so. And I just remember being like, "This is the worst day of my life so far." Like that was a time. So yeah, this game so far, it's Mama Micah approved difficulty. I played as Toadette, and she turned into a little elephant, and it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. All right, like it's just enchanting. I love it. I really do just love it so far. The little talking flower guys. I mean, like it's a blast. And I'm going to, as soon as we're done with this, I have one errand to do today, like one more post-wedding errand. And then I really need to like sit down and play some of this. I have orders to do as well, but like forget those. All right, I need to spend some time with this game because like just that little taste of it. Prince Florian, he's so cute. Like I'm so excited now about it. This is really like, I don't know. It's got the hooks in me already.
To be fair to Micah, Crash Bandicoot is a hard as fuck game.
It is, but not the first level. Like I'm not talking about
no. First level is actually
I'm not talking about
too.
that bridge. What's the crazy hard level of like the bridge in the sky, and it's like the notoriously hard level.
The first level already has some tricky jumps already. You know, they're pretty small platforms. It's already not like willing to hold your hand. Like Crash Bandicoot is actually pretty tough. It was like Donkey Kong levels of tough.
Oh so, no, yeah, not Donkey Kong.
Don't even worry about it. You know.
Yeah. So far. So Mario Wonder, I think I'm on the 4th world, but I'm playing very deliberately in that I refuse to go to another level until I complete it, get all the Wonder Seeds. You get the wonderful top, when you hit the top of the flagpole, and then there's 3 of the purple coins as well. That's how you get, that's like 100%ing a level. So I'm being very diligent, making sure I 100% each level. And I will say that's, I think, where... while nothing has been too challenging, that's where a lot of the challenge has come in for me. And I think that's smart in that it's clear that I think anyone can beat this game, particularly if you're struggling. You can use Yoshi or Nabbit, whatever, to get a little bit of an easier mode. But even then, just getting to the end of the level is not too bad. So, but yeah. I just am so impressed. I think the thing when I sit down to play this game is like the end-to-end presentation of things, the graphics, like obviously the actual graphics we think of with the game, but the UI and the way things come up and the different colors and stuff like that. It really is so impressive. It's clear that Nintendo said, "Oh, Gene, you were waiting for me to click that."
It's heinous. I tried not to like make a face or anything, but I couldn't help it.
I saw Mike's face change immediately. Maybe we could put this into production, but
yeah. I'll put this in the production, and I hate this. This is anytime someone puts something in the chat that's a Twitter link, I'm like, oh shit, breaking news. I should click this and see. I should have waited till I was done talking. I just couldn't resist.
That's exactly why I did it while you were talking, just so we can have this whole bit right here.
Wow.
So what I sent them was a link to a render of the Mario flower as if it was realistic.
Oh yeah, it looks
that mouth
horrible.
Is all veiny and moist.
Yeah.
And hear me out, guys. Yeah,
it's certainly something to think about.
Yeah,
but yeah, Mario Wonder is it's great. I just am thoroughly impressed. I think the main thing, I may have said this on the previous episode, but I wasn't as sure about it yet, is that the way Mario moves is so much better than New Super Mario Bros.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't really put my finger on why. And then I checked out Digital Foundry's video where he was John Lindemann was comparing how much momentum Mario has is very different. And that makes all the world of difference. And so we'll get into our first question here, right in from the audience about Mario Wonder from Francis, who says, hello. Through almost every Mario game I've played, through almost every Mario game I've played, it never ceases to amazes me how perfectly Mario jumps. I've never felt like a missed jump wasn't my fault, and he just goes up, hangs, and comes down for just the right amount of time. My question to you all is why or how do you think it's so perfect? Thanks for all your work. Well, that's the thing, Francis, is that I feel like it wasn't. There's been times where it's been perfect and times where it hasn't been. And I think that New Super Mario Bros. The series was where I thought, like, yeah, this is a downgrade from previous entries. I don't know what the decision-making process was from Nintendo on why they made some of those changes, but it's clear to me that this is a course correction through and through, where there's some levels later on where you have to do very particular precise jumps at speed, and I was mostly nailing it, and then the few times that I screwed up, it was always that was on me. So Gene, what do you feel about, like, specifically that momentum feeling, and I wonder, do you have any inclination why has there been ups and downs for this?
I have no idea why they decided to make the momentum for the original New Super Mario Brothers that way. But I think Linneman, I actually didn't watch that video yet because I just really don't want to go into Mario Wonder spoiled at all. And like part of Mario Wonder is like the level concepts. I just don't want to see any of them at all. But I've seen them explain on Twitter that it's all about like how the animation just snap, and they really didn't really figure that out during the whole 10 plus years of New Super Mario Brothers, that the animation should be snappier, and he was animated and moving like a 3D character in a 2D space, whereas Mario Wonder, they deliberately designed him and all the other characters to be just a lot snappier, to really feel like that these are 2D characters, that you are controlling cartoon characters on a 2D space, and they should be the momentum should be just like quicker. Mario should be stopping on a dime. It's funny because I actually played Super Mario Run, the iPhone game, recently, and it's the same momentum too. And it's just kind of weird where it's just like you only press one button, you're just pressing the screen to make Mario jump, but it's just so much heavier. Mario, like, even when I played Mario Run after Mario Wonder because I was wondering about that too. And he just feels so much heavier in Super Mario Run and in the New Super Mario Brothers games versus Wonder, where it's just a lot lighter. You just have a lot more control, and that is really one of the most influential aspects of Super Mario Brothers 1 in general, like the very first game, right? The fact that you can make Mario jump forward and then you can push back and he'll just like stop and slow down. The fact that you had that much control, that much power over this character's movement was so empowering and so powerful for players back then. That was huge. Video game, like, I remember when I played Super Mario Brothers 1, I was like, I've never played a video game like this. I've never played any character that moves like this before. And I think Mario Wonder really, really kind of remembers like why that was so important.
Yeah. It's funny to me when you think about platformers in general and how, Mario wasn't really the first platformer, so to say, but it really was the one that kind of cemented things like, oh, this is a big deal on how we're going to play home console games outside of the arcade, right? And it feels, when you play Mario, the original NES Mario's, like, this feels good, this feels right. And then immediately when you play one that doesn't feel right, it's so obvious. It's always been amazing to me how those fine little details really matter. So let's get into another write-in here from GameSimp. I should have read this one first. This is kind of a more overall, but he says, "Hey, Brick Busters, with Mario Wonder receiving immense critical praise, has Tears of the Kingdom been dethroned as the best Nintendo game of this year?" So this is certainly a possibility. This is, I think, I don't want to say it's surprising that the Mario game is good, because it's pretty clear now Nintendo understands it. I feel like the Switch generation in particular, they've been so good about making high quality, top tier exclusives, but now they have the same problem that they had back when the Switch came out, where they had not Tears of the Kingdom, but Breath of the Wild at the same time as Super Mario Odyssey. They were both competing at the Game Awards.
I remember that whole discourse. Yeah. I mean, Scott DeWaz even had a whole video about it, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Scott the Was.
Shout out to Scott the Watts. Dude, I love his videos. He's great.
Dude, he's so good.
He's so
amazing.
I just saw he released like a 2-hour video about the Switch 6 years in or something like that.
I need to watch that. Awesome. He's so funny.
Yeah. So Gene, I'll throw this one to you again, because Micah, I know you weren't into Tears of the Kingdom, and we'll get you in on this next question, Micah. But do you think it's a fair comparison about Tears of the Kingdom and Mario Wonder?
Look, I told you all like months ago, like watch out for Mario Wonder, man. This is like people are sleeping on Mario Wonder. Everyone keeps talking about Spider-Man 2. And then look what happened with Spider-Man 2. Everyone's playing Arkham Knight now instead, right? Just kidding. Everyone likes Spider-Man 2. But I was like, well, everyone is playing Arkham Knight for some reason too. But I was like, don't sleep on Mario Wonder. It looks like Nintendo is actually trying again to make it a good 2D Mario, and that's exactly what they did, you know? So I'm not surprised at the discourse. I will say that I think Tears of the Kingdom is still the more dominant title, Nintendo title going in. It just like Tears of the Kingdom kind of felt like Mario Wonder in that there's just so much experimentation and joy and creativity in there. And it's just technically just a much more impressive game. So I think you can't really discount that. That said, I think, just Mario Wonder can just still be called the best 2D Mario game since the Super Nintendo days, and that's just a high accolade. That in itself is saying something, and it's kind of true, right? Although I honestly do have a soft spot for the new Super Mario Bros. U title. And Video Game Donkey actually just had a video about it a couple days ago, where he compared New Super Mario Bros. U to Mario Wonder, and he says that, and I agree with this, that the U Deluxe and U did have a lot of the same ideas and a lot of the same concepts as Wonder does. The reason that the difference is that Wonder presents them in a completely different way, whereas in U, it's clearly just made by tile sets, right? It's just they have a level editor, they have Mario Maker out, and then they're just making a great Mario game out of it. Whereas with Wonder, it's like each level is like handcrafted. It's like telling a story. The little beaver that's running away from you as you enter a stage. Like there's always something going on that's different in every level, and every level feels a little bit more memorable. One thing I think a lot of people have talked about is the music. The music that doesn't quite hold up as well, and I kind of agree with that. The main theme song from the first level is stuck in my head, and that's how you know that's a good like main Mario theme. But every other level after that has been kind of okay. I like the remix of the underground level, but like they do that every time. Like the underground level of every Mario game has always been remixed, and it always sounds good. It's always got like a little hip hop or trip hop vibe to it. And that's what this one is too. So they just made another good underground Mario theme. So I think the music is a little bit lackluster, but yeah, again, to answer your question, I think Zelda is still going to be the one. It is too bad that Mario Odyssey was overshadowed by Breath of the Wild, but I mean, that was Breath of the Wild though,
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, man, Mario Odyssey, that's a game I need to play again at some point. I absolutely love that game. I think it's amazing, but I understand why Breath of the Wild overshadowed it in some ways. Micah, let's throw this one over to you, just because I know you're a fan of multiplayer, and while I don't think we haven't really checked out the multiplayer for Mario Wonder, but based on reading stuff like this, I don't think I'm going to, other than that one time at Target with Holly when I first played it. But this comes from Anthony Mathers, who says, "Hello, crew. I hope the wedding was fun and Chris didn't object to the union." Well, maybe he did. He unfortunately wasn't there. He had COVID. A lot of people asking about that. Chris had COVID. He was dying at home.
I think that was a silent protest.
Yeah, it might have been. You never know.
I hope Chris is doing well. Is he doing okay?
I have not heard from him. He might not be alive for all I know.
Oh my God.
Right now. But
breaking news.
Oh, he did tweet at Marty McDonald yesterday. So
he was talking shit to Marty. yeah.
I was a little surprised to see that, but good for Chris.
So let's see. Anthony says, "I hope the wedding was fun and Chris didn't object to the union, confessing his love for Colin. I'm writing to say Super Mario Wonder is terrible in 3 and 4 player mode. I'm upset at how few reviewers even mention this. I've played all the Mario multiplayer games with my sons. Completing the games, we're no slouches, but the camera controls in this game are abysmal. Whoever gets highest on the flagpole first, for example, has control of the camera, the world map, and even the button prompts. It makes it impossible for others to play. If I make a jump, but the camera doesn't, we all die. And Ghost Mechanic versus Bubble Mechanic in multiplayer chews through lives at a rapid pace. I can go on with countless other examples of how terrible the camera controls are. I let my kids stay home from school so we could have a great day playing together playing Mario, but it ended in frustration for all of us. I have never been this down on a Mario game before, Professor Tony. And he says, yes, I'm a real professor, just not that kind. Oh, so Micah,
What other kind would he? What other kind of professor would he be?
Does he mean like a professor of video games? Like he's not. I'm not like the Mario professor, but I am a real professor.
Or a Pokemon.
Or is this like
professor?
a fake taxi?
A Pokemon professor? That's where my mind went, but
maybe.
Oh, Professor Oak.
Yeah, Professor Oak.
I put an O at the end there because I just assumed that it was sexual in my mind, but then I realized I'm like, there's no sexual connotation to being like, oh, not that kind of professor.
I also went there too, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. No, is he saying that he's not a sexy professor? Like that's not even like really a trope.
Yeah,
like sexy teacher, okay, maybe, but even that's still a reach. But professor, I don't know.
Not as scandalous than when it's a professor, so not as sexy. But Micah, the multiplayer, I'm hearing all kinds of things like this, and at first when we heard about this, the silver, we're like, oh, they're not going to have collision. That's going to make multiplayer in this more fun. But particularly what Professor Tony says here about this idea of whoever touches the highest point in the flagpole suddenly has control in the overworld and the button prompts. That would annoy me to no end. Imagine if you're just trying to play with younger kids and they happen to get to the flagpole first, then you're out of luck. They have no idea what they're doing. So Micah, what do you think about all this? Like, is it better that 2D Mario stays non-multiplayer, or should it be turn-based, like it used to be where people switched off? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a real disappointment, especially coming, as this person mentioned, like they've played other games before with these multiplayer modes, had a great time. And it's very unfortunate that this game didn't function in a way that made it, as much fun for them to play. Because especially if you're playing, like you said, with young children, like dad should have control of the overworld map. All right. Like just by default, player one should be the one who's choosing the next stage and all of that. Like those are things that are just easy and make sense. I don't know why you'd be like, oh, whoever, did that first, now they're in control. That's weird. That's honestly just seems like a weird choice. I don't know. It's disappointing. I didn't get to talk to Ramon too much about it because at the time when I spoke to him, I had not played the game yet. He was disappointed in like the online multiplayer options because he had bought the game to play long distance with one of his nephews and then like wasn't thrilled with how it actually worked. I didn't get to talk to him like in depth about that because I hadn't even started the game. But it was just like this isn't the only person I've heard from that wasn't thrilled with multiplayer, either local or online. And it is unfortunate, especially because, a couple of years ago, we had Kirby Star Allies, fantastic couch co-op game, a game that I recommended to a ton of parents who, when they asked, like, what game should I get for my kids on Switch that aren't, crazy difficult, but that I'll still have fun with. And that was the answer for me because it was challenging enough as an adult, really fun multiplayer, and they will need help. Towards the end of the game, the difficulty ramps up and they're going to be like, Dad, help us out here. And you'll actually have like a great time with it. So it feels like a regression in that sense of like, well, you've had some fantastic couch co-op games for families to play, and now this one isn't functioning the way people expect. That's definitely going to be a letdown, especially to the kids who, have this idea in mind of like, yeah, this is how we play games with dad. Everybody has a great time. They got a day off from school for this and they weren't happy with it. That's like a real bummer.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up some of the other online modes because I turned on the online mode, which has the Dark Souls style where you can leave the standees and it's different, see the ghosts of people and stuff. Immediately when I started the next level, there were people running around, there's standees everywhere. And I thought, I don't feel like this is the canon experience. When I put that on, I thought, you know what? It seems cool and interesting. It's got to be for a second playthrough, though.
Replay, yeah.
It was just, it seemed very chaotic. I felt like I couldn't enjoy what was going on because there's just things running around and standees and stuff. So I'm curious about it because I think it could be cool, but I just feel like I want to experience those levels as they are first. G-Num, go. one more for you, because I know you are the furthest along in the game and have experienced many a Wonder Seeds. And this comes from Brian Borlaug, who says, "Hey gang, as my time with Wonder comes to a close, I have loved its creativity. The only issue I have is while each level has some fun type of Wonder mechanic, I feel they start to lose their luster as they are generally one-offs.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that if they had forced on some of them more, it would have been stronger. It's still an amazing game, but I feel it could have been stronger. What about you all?" I gotta say, I think I disagree with Brian on this, because I like that. I'm not going to spoil any Wonder Seeds, but obviously some of them transform Mario, and some of them transform him in ways that are so unexpected that I love that it's like, man, there are 2 minutes of this game where you play as this weird version of Mario, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just makes me, when I'm 3 worlds in, what else is Mario going to turn into?
Mm-hmm.
Or what else? So I currently am totally fine with the one-offs. But Gene, you've played more. Do you feel like the Wonder Seeds losing their wonder a bit?
Well, I will, going back to the multiplayer part a bit, I will shout out one of my favorite YouTubers and Twitch streamers, your boy Roshi, who has started playing Mario Wonder alongside Spider-Man 2, but his Mario Wonder streams have been called Divorce Simulator. And him and his wife, Shira, were already yelling at each other by the second level. Like they were like legit. Like I was like legitimately worried that they were like actually. I think they were actually angry. Like the wife was like really like yelling at Roshi, right? And then of course the chat's like, well, time to get the papers out. And then you see 2 streams later, he's by himself. And Shira's just not there anymore. So, yes, to the previous person's point, it sounds like that is pretty much seems to be experienced. But that was a new Super Mario Brothers experience too. Like that was just about tearing families apart and ending friendships, right? And it just seems like Nintendo is really comfortable with that meme of Mario games, Mario Party. There was a tweet that I retweeted yesterday where Yasunori Mitsuda was a composer for Mario Party and Xenogears. And the tweet said, "Wow, it's crazy that he composed music for a video game that tells a story about how humanity can hurt each other, and then also Xenogears." So, Mario Wonder seems to be the same thing. Back to Brian's point about the Wonder Seeds, I actually kind of agree with him, actually. There's it gets a little bit to a point where it's like, okay, well, what's the trick this time? And it's always wonderful, and like it still maintains that level of like, hey, this could be its own game kind of thing. But it does get a little bit like exhausting, where it's like, okay, well, what's going to happen this time? And then you just move on with it. But that's what Mario games are, though. If you play Super Mario Galaxy, so much of Super Mario Galaxy is just having like one trick in a level, and then you just kind of move on. So it kind of feels familiar. So I get it, but and especially because Wonder, they actually put a name to the mechanic. Whereas in Mario Galaxy, it's just like Galaxy, right? There's a different idea, a different galaxy, different idea, right? Whereas in Mario Wonder, it's literally the name of the game. So it's like, that is like the gimmick of the game. It's like you get the Wonder Seed, and something about the level of Mario will change. The music might change too. I love it when the music changes, but I hate it when it's just like the same old like like song. I like it when it's something else. But yeah, I kind of see his point.
Yeah, Gene, something you said last episode that stuck with me while I'm playing it is that you said that Super Mario Brothers Wonder is Nintendo's embrace of psychedelics in the Mario world. And every time I pick up that seed, I'm like, this is Mario just took some LSD. Let's go. Like, what's going to happen? I love that. So yeah, lots of just our early thoughts right now. We'll come back more as we play more, and of course we need Dagon's thoughts. That's the part that I'm feeling bad that we're missing right now. But so yeah, we'll come back on Super Mario Wonder. I like I said, I got 100% this game. I got to get that platinum trophy that doesn't exist for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. So Micah, Ben and I, when we were playing, I was like, I'm 100%ing each level. And Ben was like, oh, so you won't be able to get that platinum trophy to show that you've done anything or proved to anybody. He was making fun of Colin, when he said that to you. So we don't need it. We don't need the platinum. We just like to have fun.
We really don't. And I do as well just love your point of that is a great way to add challenge. Because just another example being Yoshi's Crafted World and like Yoshi's Woolly World, those games are pretty simple to get through. They have some challenging moments, but those games are generally pretty simple. But trying to collect all the, yarn balls, all that type of stuff, like that's where the added difficulty is. And you can make it as challenging as you want. Like I'm always going to appreciate that of if you want to go for all the coins, you've got an added challenge. If you want to go for all the Wonder Seeds, you've got an added challenge. For me, that's the perfect way to tailor a game to various skill sets and also just, varying amounts of time of like, all right, well, if somebody really wants to try and just like run through the game, at a faster pace, they can. And if someone wants to really take their time with it, get the most out of the experience, have the game be a little bit more challenging, they can do that too. It's like, for me, those are very good selling points.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing too, is that even in addition to that, they have the Yoshi mode which I think here's the thing that pisses me off is that I wanted to see Yoshi transform into Elephant Yoshi. But when you play as those characters, you don't get the transformations anymore. So Nintendo being a little bit of a coward on that one, but still nice to see those. And it would be nice to play as Yoshi and it not be easy mode. That was one thing I was trying to make sure I was playing as different characters just for fun, like playing as Luigi and Peach for a bit.
But. Yeah, you know what? I haven't done that yet. I actually haven't experimented at all with the other characters. And so maybe I should just do that tonight, But I'm also, I also want to play Alan Wake 2. So.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about Alan Wake 2 in a little bit. Yeah. But yeah. So Mario Wonder, let us know what you guys are thinking. And please feel free to write in on the next episode so we can talk about it with Dagan. But guys, I have a little bit of news this week. Not a lot of news. Some kind of weird, interesting stuff here. And this first news of number 1 comes from Nintendo Life. And so basically what they've found, or at least are reporting on, is that Nintendo has put out a patent for what is called a dual screen detachable device. And this patent was originally filed in November 11th of 2022. There is a description of this device. I am going to try to read it without having an aneurysm. I was trying to just read this silently to myself, but you really need the visual aid for this. But
no, it is a salad right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, let's give this a shot. This electronic apparatus comprises of a first device and a second device. The first device and the second device can be detachably attached to each other. I thought I was reading that wrong. I wasn't. The first device has a first surface and a first display and a first connection unit, which are positioned on the first surface. The second device has a second surface, a second display that is positioned on the second device, a second rear surface that is on the reverse side from the second surface, and a second connection unit that is positioned on the second rear surface. The second connection unit can be connected to the first connection unit in a first orientation or in a second orientation that is the reverse from the first orientation. When in the first connection state, in which the second connection part has been connected to the first connection part, in the first orientation, the second rear surface is positioned as to cover the first display. So like a DS. When in a second connection state, in which the second connection port has also been connected to the first connection part, in the second orientation, the second rear surface is positioned as to not cover the first display.
You did very well.
Thank you. Yeah, that is some, patent mumbo jumbo, but I will, I'll go ahead and just attach the pictures of the patent here on the screen for the video users, but you can also find this pretty easily. But yeah, this is a very strange thing where it kind of looks like a DS in some ways, and then it folds down and there's a screen on like what would be the outer part of the DS, but it's also detachable to some degree. Now, one thing that's really important to make clear is that Nintendo patents shit just like every other company. They patent shit all the time. Someone has some wacky idea that they think might have a shred of possibility. Better patent that, make sure, keep that IP, intellectual property or whatever it is, keep that idea safe. So this could mean totally nothing. And I was looking at this Nintendo Life article in the comments. Someone had posted, do you guys remember when before Switch came out, there was a Nintendo patent of an oval like controller that was all screen that people eventually someone made a mock-up of what Zelda would look like on it, and they're like, this is the next Nintendo console. And it's like, nah, that's trash, man. It looks horrible. But that was the patent, a patent that they made. So this could have absolutely zero possibility of being real, but it's always cool to see a behind the scenes thing of what Nintendo may or may not be working on. So I'll throw this to you guys. Micah, the thing that's so intriguing to me is the fact that it's dual screen, or I guess 3 screen in some ways, but also detachable. I don't even know what the angle is for this, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, as you mentioned, how this does not, indicate by any means that this is actually a product we'll ever see, because it's very true that, much like Gandalf saying, is it secret? Is it safe? If you have an idea, you're going to patent it. If you think it's remotely viable, you're going to patent this idea because you just want to make sure that if it ever comes to fruition, like, it's yours. So I agree that, I was a huge fan, of course, of the 3DS, played a ton of it, still have games I occasionally go back to and play on it. So I wouldn't be disappointed necessarily if we ended up getting some weird folding up Switch type device. I'll say, though, that I just don't think it's necessary. Like, we've talked in the past about Nintendo almost insisting a gimmick, like almost just insisting that, like, this new console has to be wildly different. PlayStation and Xbox don't do that. All right. Like, PlayStation and Xbox, like, you're going to plug this into your TV. It's going to run better, faster. The games are going to be higher quality. But the PlayStation, like, the gimmicks are more so the controller, right? Maybe you got the touchpad, maybe you have like improved haptics, like that type of stuff. But the Xbox, like, their gimmicks were peripherals, Connect. But the console itself really isn't like, oh, this time it's the game sphere from Drake and Josh and it's spherical, right? Like, Nintendo's the one, though, that's like, now it's a little cube, now it's, this little tower, it's the Wii, now it's the gamepad with the Wii U, like, now it, it opens and shuts, it's the 3DS, the little piece of toast 2DS. Like, they're the ones who are just like, every console has to be wildly different, and I don't think they have to do this. I really feel like the Switch is like maybe their magnum opus of like, look, man, you made everybody happy with this. Between the Switch docked and the Switch Lite, you've got all the bases covered. I don't think you have to do anything this crazy. I really don't. So I don't want this to be the new thing. I won't be upset if it is, because I did love the 3DS and everything it stood for. But I just feel like, man, Nintendo, don't do this. You have everything solved right now, I feel. You just need to make the Switch more powerful. You don't need to make it fold up like an origami, but otherwise I think it's a neat idea.
Nintendo, they have like that, they just can't resist changing. And to be honest, they've done so many innovative things that I understand that they're a very creative company, both in their software but also their hardware. So I think that's kind of part of their DNA. But Gene, I was curious what you thought about this patent. Is this the return, the D3DS? Well, I guess I'm trying to think, 3-screen DS detachable DD Deluxe something. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Mildly terrified, mostly, because, well, look, the 3DS was a great system, right? Everyone loved it, right? And the DS, the DS is the second best-selling game machine of all time, just under the PlayStation 2. So obviously, it's got something like that has mass appeal. So I'm wondering if they're like, hey, well, if the DS did so well and the Switch did so well, what if we just mix and match the Switch and the DS together, see what happens there? I'm just more worried about what it's going to do with game development, in terms of like, oh, well, now our version of Call of Duty has to have 2 screens or 3 screens or 4 screens versus, Call of Duty, yeah, I'm just worried about how that's gonna make the third party development, because obviously Nintendo's gonna like whatever crap they put on that system, and however they use it is gonna be amazing, and it's gonna be like, oh my god, it should have been done like this the whole time. But then I'm just thinking about third party games and how they're gonna transfer over. That is my main concern. I'm hoping that this is just like them just covering their ass. I just noticed your Misato shirt. Shout
Shout out the girl,
but,
or waifu. Yeah.
yeah. Of course. But yeah, that I'm just hoping that it's just like them just covering their asses and lawyers just covering, just doing the work. I feel like being a Nintendo lawyer, BG Broken Games HDR had a really funny tweet about there was that rap song that uses Super Mario, the original Super Mario Brothers theme song as its beat. And BG tweeted, Nintendo loves its lawyers so much they named one of its characters after them. So you know that Nintendo's lawyers are on it. It's like, I have to imagine that being a Nintendo lawyer is like one of the most secure and lucrative jobs in the world. Howard Lincoln was Nintendo's general counsel, which is a fancy word for that's the main lawyer, and he became president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I saw something too that someone made a mod for Mario Wonder that had the flower swear at you.
Yeah.
And Nintendo got the video taken down of it.
Wow.
Like, even though it's not even that they released the mod, they just posted a video of it and they took it down. So yeah, they're very, very litigious.
Sony actually took down my tweet of Spider-Man 2.
What?
Yeah, I got
serious?
I got DMCA'd for I put out a tweet of Spider-Man pulling down the limo over in the Sandman level, just right at the beginning. And the limo landed on a dude. And this was like a day or two before release, and I was like, this is like within like the first 30 minutes of the game. Like, this is not a spoiler, and I'm not really showing anything. But yeah, they DMCA'd it and took it down. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
And it wasn't part of their embargo. They just were like, we don't like that.
Man, come on. I don't understand. I don't understand. So
that's messed up. That's crazy. Make sure to let Colin know that, and we'll talk about it on Sacred. That's very interesting. But as far as this Nintendo patent, the thing I think that's striking me, obviously revitalizing the DS format is crazy. And like you said, Gene, the Switch, while it has a huge power differential, it still has a lot more multi-platform appeal, since there's the gimmick is the portability, not necessarily like how you interact and play the games itself. But I'm just so curious about this detachable top screen that has screens on both sides. I'm thinking of Nintendo doing something where you have someone, they can see something on one screen, you're standing on the other side, and you see something on that screen, and what that could mean for multiplayer.
Battleship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like a battle. Yeah. Something like that.
Battleship or Uno, or like not Uno, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like Clubhouse 51 games. I mean, that right there could just be like, yeah, man, now you can both see your own screens. No cheater Bob moments.
Yeah, I mean, if that's going to be, I hope they don't force it. Like, hey, you have to have everything like make it work like the Wii U or the 3DS, right? Like, it'd be cool if they were like, hey, it's there if you want it. We're going to use it, right? And it'll be cool if, I don't know, whatever. I hope it's optional. I just don't want. The developers are already having a hard enough time like developing for fucking PC, So or the Xbox Series S and X. So I would really hope that they understand that it'll be easier for. I mean, that's why Sony did gangbusters with the PS4, because they realized the PS3 was so hard to develop for. So they reached out to developers and was like, what can we do to make it easier to make games for you? And they did it with the PS4, and the PS4 was a runaway success. So. That's the approach. The Xbox did that with the very first Xbox, and it worked. It worked well. So,
yeah. So as we said earlier, that one of the key takeaways is that while this is a patent, it's in no way official or something that's happening, and could be, I don't know, Switch 3 for all we know that they've patented, but it could end up being nothing. But interesting nonetheless to take a look at. And moving to number 2 here, we got an interview here with from Inverse with our boy Doug Bowser, of course, the president of NOA. And it's a really interesting interview. If you want to go read it, there's lots of good stuff in there. But I took out 2 interesting aspects of the interview, and I wanted to read you guys two separate quotes. We can do the first one and then the second one, and we can talk about them in between. But a lot of people were grabbing onto this first quote, particularly about backwards compatibility when asked about, could the next Switch will have backwards compatibility? And he says, quote, "Well, first, I can't comment, or I won't comment, I should say, on the rumors that are out there. But one thing we've done with the Switch to help with that communication and transition is the formation of the Nintendo account. In the past, every device we transitioned to had to have a whole new account system. Creating the Nintendo account will allow us to communicate with our players if and when we make a transition to a new platform to help ease the process of transition. Our goal is to minimize the dip you typically see in the last year of our cycle and the beginning of another. I can't speak to the possible features of a new platform, but the Nintendo account is a strong basis for having that communication as we make the transition." So a lot of people were reading this and saying like, oh yeah, they're doubling down on the Nintendo account. This means backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
And while I think that with this kind of emphasis, I don't think it's a lock still. But I don't know. Micah, how are you feeling about, Doug here? He's like, I can't comment. I won't comment. And then kind of comments, but just kind of says what we already know. So do you think people are gleaning too much from this?
The thing for me is just that I feel like we just don't know till we know, because there are many avenues they could go down with this. I am happy that they are confirming, though, that the Nintendo account is going to be what you have going forward, because it's one of the, it should be, because it is easy to use. It makes more sense than what you had with the old, like the 3DS account and everything just being separate and disjointed and like, what are we doing with this? So I'm happy that they are like, confirming that they're sticking with it. Like that's all I want to take from this, is that we're sticking with the Nintendo account. What they do with that down the road, I'm going to wait until it's proven. I'm going to wait until I actually see it. So maybe I do feel like people are reading too much into it just to be like overly confident about what their intentions are. But I myself am just happy that, yes, the Nintendo account is going to be what you're going to have, at least for the next system. Lord knows they might change their minds, several years from now and be like, now we're going to have, the Mario account and it's different. But at least we're going to have this same level of like, okay, this is going to stay here. We're going to move to a new console, but your account's going to stay the same. Like Xbox and PlayStation, I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, it's the conversation around backwards compatibility is always interesting, and I think that things do change. And Gene, throwing this over to you, related but unrelated. So hear me out for a second. I think about that interview that Phil Spencer did with Kinda Funny, where he talked about Xbox One. That was the worst generation to lose because people were building their digital libraries. And I think about Wii U in that there were people buying stuff digital, but not really. And I think that the shop there was so clunky that people, I think, were more inclined towards physical games still at that point for a Nintendo console. And now with the Switch, particularly with it being a portable console, people are drawn to digital libraries. I think it makes a lot of sense, particularly for that console, so you're not carrying around expensive games. I get it. I'm still into physical, but I think I understand it most for Switch. And so I think that if they didn't do backwards compatibility, it would be the most painful time for them not to do it because of that digital library building aspect. So, but anyway, Doug, Doug Bowser, he doesn't necessarily, they're clearly not saying no, and they're clearly not saying yes. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, clearly. I mean, that Doug is a master at not saying a lot, right? As I've learned speaking to him over the years. But I do like his commitment to the Nintendo account. I think that's a strong commitment. I always think about how, all the games that you get with the Nintendo subscription, right? In that collection with Genesis and NES and Super NES and everything. I'm glad to know that at the very least those games will persist. It sounds like that. I think one thing you can take away is that there seems to be a commitment to those games persisting in the next system. So if you have a save in Super Mario 3 or Link to the Past, and you treasure that, and unfortunately it's not available physically on the Switch, but if you do have your Nintendo account, it is going to persist into the next console, and that's at least better than what we had in the Wii U, which is nothing from the Switch, and then we just have to buy everything again, and like none of the saves work. So that is at least a little bit better, and hopefully maybe cloud saves, if it is backwards compatible, the cloud saves will still work. So my precious Tears of the Kingdom, or even the Breath of the Wild saves, my Breath of the Wild save especially, because I have 450 Korok seeds picked up in there out of the 900, right? So I got half exactly to make sure that I unlock every single inventory slot in the game. And I stopped at that. I was like, screw it, I'm not going to get every Korok seed, but I wanted every single inventory slot. And that save is so precious to me. And I'd be very, very sad if I lost it in the next generation. Or I hope they just keep it forever in the Switch. But yeah, I really hope that they really, really double down on that persistency. And I really hope that it's backwards compatible. I really, really hope. And I don't know what kind of physical format it'll use. It'll be interesting if it's like the Game Boy or the 3DS, where it's like, oh yeah, the DS can play Super Game Boy games. It'd be amazing if they went back to that. And it's like there's an extra slot for Switch cards as well as whatever Switch 2 cards or whatever they might, whatever format they might use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to think that I saw the rumor recently that Nintendo is kind of trying to push this thing sooner rather than later in 2024. So it really might not be that long until we know. But like Micah said, we'll know when we know. So we're just going to have to keep waiting and keep speculating on every word that Doug Bowser says. But one other thing, and this isn't anything crazy. This is something also that we already knew, but it's good to hear it directly from Nintendo. And Inverse asked a question. I wrote it in our doc as on the Switch being stinky. And they politely, they said, Nintendo is clearly behind on power. Is that at a priority going forward, or is, what matters in terms of technical specs? And he said this, quote, "We have always said at Nintendo, what's most important to us is not so much what's inside the machine or the device, but what happens on the screen when you put your hands on the controllers and you start engaging in the gameplay experience. Does it draw you in? Is it immersive? To that point, you can use a variety of different art styles, some with higher fidelity, some with perhaps a different, more cartoonish type style. Very well spoken for the not lower fidelity, cartoonish type of style." So well spoken there. But I always just think it's so funny where I hear takes about Nintendo is behind. I'll say this. People always are like, Dustin, are you talking about something Colin says? Not necessarily, but I have heard Colin say this. It's like, Nintendo's got to catch up. They got to get the power on this thing. And this is where I'm always like, Nintendo, I don't think views it that way. And this is just clearly spoken here that it's like, it's not necessarily about the game being in 4K 60 or something like that. It's about the experience being core to everything for them.
I think Colin's lost the argument already many times over. Like, look at how the Switch is selling. I'm sorry, even compared to the PS5, right?
Yeah.
We will all love it for them to catch up, but they clearly don't need to, and it doesn't matter, and it's why their profit margins are so much higher than Xboxes and Sony's, because they're selling the system at a profit, from day one.
Yeah. I do think, though, as we discussed on a previous episode, I do think that there's limitations to the Switch that they should sort of curate some more of the experiences, like the new, Mortal Kombat just looking like ass on Switch. Yeah. And that should not exist. I'm just going to say it, like, it just really, it's too bad. I know that people still play it and they're happy it's portable. I would just be truly embarrassed, though, to be like, this is the product. The difference between some of the, like, just the facial, animations and everything. I'm like, this looks bad. I'm not saying it looks lower fidelity. It doesn't look more cartoonish. It looks bad. And so that's for me the dividing line of, I completely agree that for the most part, Nintendo games do not need the most powerful system. Kirby and the Forgotten Land looked awesome, played very smoothly. Only problems like the loading times, right? But aside from that the game played really well.
That was a big issue with Mortal Kombat 1, is that the loading times were just like completely unplayable. Because I have that stupid game, and like like the graphics are bad, right? Like unequivocally. But worse than that is that it just literally takes like 3 minutes just to start a 1 minute round of fighting,
awful.
and it's like, oh my god, this is not a playable experience. Period. It's not. It's just not. So
I can respect that Nintendo understands what they're going for, and that you can say like, yeah, you can play Xenoblade on here and it looks good. The draw distances maybe aren't the best, but the game plays smoothly and it looks decent enough. I respect that, and especially when it comes to like Mario and things like that, we're like, yeah, it's cartoonish. It doesn't need to be hyper realistic. It's not what they're going for. But then some of the third party experiences definitely need to be like, you should have rejected this from the start, because it's not what the players should be paying for, in my opinion. If you're going to just admit that, no, our console's not very powerful and we're not going to really change that,
Yeah. It's clear that obviously people buy Nintendo for its first party, and you can see that in software sales. But I think that third party in particular is increasingly important, and something that I'm surprised by on the Switch, that people want to play a lot of these games and they're okay with it being a lower fidelity experience. But there is a line, right? That the Mortal Kombat 11 line, where it's
crossed the line. That crossed the line. Yeah. There's a line. Like the Witcher 3 didn't cross the line. It's fine, It played well, and it's a whole complete experience on the cartridge, for fuck's sake, But Mortal Kombat 1 was the line, and it was not a good line to cross.
Moving on to our last news item here for the mega nerds like me. Analogue, which is a company that specializes in making FPGA based clone systems. So they made the Super NT. They have a Sega Genesis one. They have
Justin, what is FPGA? I don't know what it is, and maybe the listeners wouldn't know either. But yeah,
FPGA. I got to remember exactly. Field programmable gate array. I'll try my best to describe what this means as someone who doesn't fully understand all the technical aspects. Is that, think about it like this: that when you emulate something like your Switch, when it emulates a Nintendo 64 game, it's using software to pretend to create an environment within software that emulates that hardware, which is why it's called emulation. And so when you do that, it's not actually running exactly on the CPU as it would on a Nintendo 64. It's within a software environment. So that's why you get emulation that's like not quite right. Maybe the music's a little off. Maybe there's some lighting issues or something like that. Overall, emulation's gotten really, really good, but it's not 100% accurate.
Dope.
So the FPGA, or the field programmable gate array, you're actually tuning and programming an actual hardware chip to completely clone what you tell it to. So you could clone a Nintendo 64 processor. And so it literally thinks it's running on a Nintendo 64 chip. There's no software environment that it's rendering within. Hopefully I'm getting this right. I know someone that's deep in development is cringing at me trying to explain this. I'm sorry, but I think that makes sense overall. That
sounds about right. Yeah.
The big point is that it is super accurate, in terms of playing ROMs or cartridges or whatever. And like I said, for huge nerds like me that care about stuff like that. So Analogue, I recently got the Analogue Pocket, which also runs on FPGA. So you get, pixel perfect Game Boy emulation. It also does Super Nintendo and stuff like that. But they've announced a new product called the Analogue 3D. And this is an FPGA based Nintendo 64 clone. And they are claiming that it is going to play Nintendo 64 games at 4K. It's going to have Bluetooth support, so you can use Bluetooth controllers, but there's also the standard N64 ports, and it will have 4 of them, so you can play Mario Party or whatever, Smash. And it will have 100% compatibility with all games, and it does have like different display modes as well. This is coming in 2024, and I'm pretty interested in this. This sounds pretty cool. The Super NT, these are expensive products. They are not necessarily value products. I think the Super NT was $200 or something. My Analog Pocket was $250. The original, I'm trying to remember what it was called. The NES clone that they made, I think was $500 when it came out. So, like I said, not value products at all, but people that want to buy and play these know what they're getting. They're getting extremely high quality devices, and they're moving up to the Nintendo 64. So,
I touched
Gene,
Dustin's device.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you did. You touched my, my pocket.
Your
you touched
pocket,
in my pocket.
It was really good. The hype is real. You should also touch one too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gene, would you be interested in a Nintendo 64 clone? Like, do you have any of your old cartridges or something like that? Is this appealing at all?
So this is interesting because the Nintendo 64 is literally the only Nintendo console I've never owned. Period.
Oh.
It's the only one. I've never owned a cartridge by Nintendo 64 for Nintendo 64. It was always one that I either rented or in college we just had one at the dorm, and I just never bought one. And that's a shame. So yeah, if there's any Nintendo generation that I was not a part of, it was the N64. But I still played a bunch of N64 games. I even played the Castlevania game on it too. But yeah, I definitely don't own any cartridges. I think it would be actually this one would be one that I'm interested in because it would actually kind of fill that gap in my Nintendo knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And then, after you spend whatever this device could cost, which is up, $500, then you can spend $100 per game getting cartridges, since that's what, Nintendo 64 games now are like.
Yeah.
Not all of them. I mean, there's plenty of cheaper ones as well.
I think for me, it's like I just don't know that there's a ton of Nintendo 64 games I want to play. A lot of the ones that I love or I would still want to play are like Majora's Mask or Zelda. Mostly the Zeldas and the Super Mario 64s, which are already available in other formats, anyways. So I don't know. I think it's a little tough. It's kind of like what I have a PlayStation 1 simulator or emulator on my Steam Deck now. And when I was looking at that, I was like, there's actually not a ton of games I need for the PlayStation 1 right now. Other than like really, really obscure games like Bujingai, the Forsaken City, starring Gact. Or have you ever heard of that, Dustin?
That sounds really familiar. I know that's... What's it called? The Forsaken...
Bujingai, the Forsaken City.
Okay.
Awesome character action game. It's the only game that really tried to mimic the wushu type of fighting that you saw in Crash and Tiger. Super, super good. Or God Hand, right? The games like that. But besides that, I was I'm kind of left a little bit wondering what else I need from that generation. And I'm kind of the same way with N64. I don't know if I need a ton from that generation, but again, I've touched the Pocket. I know how quality of a device it is, so I'm definitely now a lot more interested in getting even the original Pocket. So the fact that they're making an N64 one is pretty aces. So I might check that out too.
Micah, my first experience playing Nintendo 64 was at the local grocery store in the Pittsburgh area, which is called Giant Eagle. But of course, Pittsburghers say Giant Eagle. They had the Eagle's Nest where my mom, when she was shopping, would sometimes drop me off there. I was asking to be dropped off there because they had Nintendo 64, where I first played Mario 64, and it was amazing. So do you have any connection to N64 at all? I don't think you're into a $500 Nintendo 64 clone, but where are you at with that device?
Yeah, so I have fond memories playing it at a friend's house when I was a kid. The Woodburns had an N64, and we would play, Mario Kart on it. I enjoyed that very much, but my experience with the console is really limited. I never personally owned one, and when we would go to their house, Mario Kart was the default game. I don't think we ever even played anything else on it. It just was that's the game. Now, I had a ton of fun with it, but that my experience is so limited that no, if I were to say like, oh, I really want to check out some N64 titles, the price point would have to be lower. And that's just my personal value on it, because there's just not as much that I'd want to go back and see as of right now. I mean, it's just one of those, like, if you showed me the entire list of N64 releases, and I'd probably say, oh, there's a couple things on there I would definitely want to check out. But off the top of my head, is not a console that I'd be yearning to go back to. My preference would certainly be for Nintendo to do another mini console like they did, like the SNES, you know,
That'd be great. Yeah,
like
that'd be
classic.
great.
That would be my preference, to have their curated, here's our list of the best games on the console, and this
Just
is
have
what
a-
we're going to send. Yeah,
a
and
cute
it
little
won't
device,
cost
right?
$500, right? Like, that would be my preference if I were to want to explore this older console. Because off the top of my head, no, there's not a lot that I'd want to play on it. It certainly wouldn't be worth it to me. But I'm glad for the people who are excited about it, like, because as so many of us have wanted, like, yeah, Nintendo, keep doing these little classic consoles. Well, I haven't heard any whisperings of another one yet. So for the people who are like really desperate for that, I'm glad that this will exist.
Yeah, Michael brings up a good point. Like, the money wise issue is an important thing too. Like, for me, my money is more prioritized towards getting a new PC. You know, I'm running on 1060. I'm like 2 centuries behind, like, on the PC market. You know, I need at least I might wait for the 5000 series, just so 4090s can be cheaper finally. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing, is that, like I was saying, analog stuff is not for probably like 99% of people, where Nintendo Switch Online, the Nintendo 64 stuff, that
That's
kind
enough,
of
yeah.
has that, that
That's enough,
curated list. And for the most part, it's it's not exactly perfect emulation, but honestly, 99% of people, even myself included, for the most part, are not going to notice the difference at all. And I don't think I will get the Analog 3D, just because I like Nintendo 64. I was never like super into it. Dude, if they announced a PlayStation 1 analog system, it was like, yeah, it plays your games at,
actually,
at 4K.
I would actually just get that one though, for sure.
And I have so many games still for PlayStation 1 that it would be a no-brainer. So hoping for something like that someday. Speaking of Nintendo Switch Online, we have one quickie, and that's Mario Party 3 is now available on Nintendo Switch Online. So if you want to hate your friends and family, boot this one up and steal their star in the last round. They'll love you for it. You know, it's a family tradition at this point, a rite of passage. So check that out. Guys, let's get into what we've been playing. I'm very excited about this. Obviously, we talked a lot about Wonder, and I think Gene and I are going to talk a little bit about Alan Wake 2. But Micah, you're the mystery right now. What have you been playing?
Yeah, so time was limited for me since our last episode, but I did get to play more of Fire Emblem Engage, and I'm still very engaged with it.
Ooh.
Like, it's great. I will say, I agree that with people, it is like MILF Simulator. Like, why is every mom so hot? What is this? Like, it's a little weird. And like, at one point, Colin was like, "Who's that character?" And I was like, "That's your," like, I was like, "That's like my mom." And he was like, "Oh, that's awkward." Because it just was. I was like, yeah, like
Your mom's got something going on in that game.
They're like so weirdly hot. And like, and then like, so another character, his mom also hot. Like, it's weird. I'm all for it, but
it's like the Pokemon moms too. It's like every time your mom in Pokemon, it's like, oh my god, what is going on?
These dummy thick. It's like Pixar moms over here.
It's a lot of Pixar moms. Yeah.
But the gameplay, fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. I am having fun with the engage mechanic of the game is centralized around the fact that you have these rings of power that you call upon various heroes from Fire Emblem. I get really excited, for the characters that I recognize, like, oh my God, it's her, like stuff like that is really cool. And I'm loving that. And I also just enjoy, like, the special attacks are really fun. They're fun to use. I look forward to, it's like, okay, yeah, now I'm all charged up. I can use that. I am having a great time with it. I had less time to play like these past few days, but it was a great distraction from, getting ready for the wedding and everything. And I'm excited to get back to it because I adore the Fire Emblem games. Like, I really do enjoy just like the tactical, RPGs and my little tile system. It brings me such joy to see a little grid pop up on screen when I'm playing a game. So I'm still having a great time with it. Yeah, I don't have a ton more to say, but
No.
it's awesome so far. And I'm actually happy that, I'd heard feedback that it was a longer Fire Emblem experience. So far, I'm enjoying it so much that I'm bored for that, because originally I kind of put off playing it because I thought, I've heard maybe it overstays its welcome in some ways, and I might end up feeling that way later on. But as of right now, it's so exciting, and I'm just really, it's got its hooks in me that I'm like, I don't want this to end. Give me 100 more levels. I might regret that later. But as of right now, I'm like fully invested in it.
Yeah. When Holly and I were playing it, we were talking about the different characters. Of course, you have to pick your waifu, your husbando, whatever. I was like, Holly, I think it's got to be the thief, Yunaka. I'm a big fan of her. Then Holly, of course, then was referring to as Yunkers.
That was the first thing I thought of.
Yeah, and hey, she's not wrong. But do you have a favorite character? Do you've got a special interest in anybody?
Not yet. So I'm playing as like the girl, basically. So I haven't met a man yet who's really wowed me besides the old man.
Vander. Holly liked Vander too.
And I don't know if you can date him or not. So like when I played Fire Emblem Three Houses, I immediately Googled who was dateable because I was just already in love with one of the characters. And I was just like, I need to know if he's available, right? I didn't do that with this one because I wanted it to be a little more of a surprise, but I keep hoping that if I keep spending time with Vander, that it'll work out. But I don't know. I don't know if he's available.
I honestly don't know. I
so
can't
far,
remember
the
what
other
Holly
people
did.
aren't really grabbing me. So, we'll see what shakes out.
Yeah. Well, glad to hear. Keep us updated on that. I need to finish that game at some point. I was one of the people that felt like I was like, yeah, this is kind of dragging on too long. But I wasn't not enjoying it either. It's just, other stuff comes out and some things get pushed to the wayside. But Gene, let's talk a little bit on our Nintendo show just briefly about Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Because last night I played the first chapter of Alan Wake 2, just right up the end of the first chapter. Holy shit. This is one of the best first impressions I've gotten from a game ever. It looks beautiful on PlayStation 5. It is legitimately really creepy and really scary just in that first chapter. And I'm so immediately, I feel like an idiot now because on Sacred, I think I said that Remedy needed to convince me that splitting your main character, with a game, that's had a legacy of 13 years now to introduce a new main character. I'm not sure about that. But then immediately I feel like an idiot from a story perspective and no spoilers. I'm like, well, yeah, you got to have a character that's not Alan Wake for this to work in the way they want to tell the story. And so it's really, really good. But Gene, how far did you get last night? And how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm on chapter 3 now. So I'm just a little bit farther than you. Okay. And I don't know if I know that much more than you, but you're right in that the mystery is about Alan Wake, right? And that makes it very, very compelling. For me, I'm actually wondering if I should actually just go back to Alan Wake 1 and replay that one again, because there is so much going on and they're referring to too much in the original game that I feel like I am missing something because the first game is not that fresh in my mind. Because all I remember from the first game is that it controlled really well. So my criticism of Alan Wake 2, and I love it, and I think it's actually really creepy. Like I was actually really genuinely surprised at how creepy it was, and then I forgot how creepy Control was. Micah, did you play Control, or did you watch Colin play Control?
No, I did not. I have no experience.
Wait, Colin didn't even play Control, did he?
No, he did. Yeah,
he did. He loves it.
Yeah, I thought he did, but I was like, I never have seen it. Like, I definitely did not watch him play it.
It was really creepy in Control, so I was not. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised at how creepy Alan Wake 2 is. But my ironically, my criticism of Alan Wake 2 is the Control. I'm a little surprised at how kind of like slow and loose Saga and others feel. especially since controlled so well. And if you play Alan Wake 1, it also controls really well. Like it's a really really solid like third person shooter. Whereas this one, like it kind of feels like that they're making it more of a survival horror game, which I get, and I'm getting used to it, you know. But that was like really my first impression. But I love how creepy everyone is. Everyone's facial animations are very very exaggerated and stiff and stilted, and I think that's on purpose. And it reminds me of it reminds me of Kojima most of all. You look at Death Stranding and how weird everyone acts in that game, right? Everyone acts like a complete freaking weirdo in that game. And then you play Alan Wake 2, and it's like everyone here is a weirdo too. You know, like everyone is just a little unnatural. The speech is a little stilted. The facial animations are a little bit too hard. They're like LA Noire, but like LA Noire like was like by accident. Because they were obviously trying too hard to show it. Micah, did you play LA Noire?
Yes, I agree. I loved it, and I know what they were going for, but it was so weird.
Yeah,
it was just it didn't work.
It was weird for no reason. Like it was just weird, and it doesn't go anywhere. So it just looks weird. Whereas in Alan Wake 2, like if someone's talking to you that way, then like it's meant to like add like the atmosphere and like the mood, and like this person is weird or this person is a little off. So I really, really enjoyed it. And it reminds me again of Silent Hill 1, the Silent Hill games actually. Like remember when you meet the guy James like throwing up and like he's just like what or whatever. Not James, but like the guy who is eating the pizza in the toilet or whatever. Or even Maria, you know, like the way she talked to you in Silent Hill 2. Just a little off and strange and like just not all there. And like it feels like everyone in Alan Wake 2 is like that. So it's so interesting. I can't wait. I actually can't wait to get off this podcast and kind of go back to it and figure out what happens, because like the story totally has hooks in me now. Like the story is really going, and like I can see where they're going with it, and it's really really fun. And I love seeing Sam Lake again with the James McCaffrey voice, the Max Payne voice. Like I'm an OG Max Payne fan. Max Payne 1 is actually the game that got me into PC gaming. Of course, Doom and Quake were there, right? But Doom and Quake were runnable everywhere. But Max Payne was the game where it's like, okay, I need to get like a slightly better PC to be able to play this game, this interesting game with storytelling and bullet time, because that came out during the whole Matrix part, and I was like, oh
yeah.
And then so Max Payne was the game that introduced me to mods, because you know they had the Kung Fu mod for Max Payne 1. Where you can control Max Payne as if he was Neo. So every time you do a dodge, he would do the backwards dodge or whatever like that. And then they gave him like kung fu kicks and everything. It was so cool. But the thing that really made Max Payne 1 and 2 so memorable were the creepy bits. Well, especially with the TV show Night Springs, that they would always show up. So as soon as I booted up Alan Wake 1 and the main character started talking about Night Springs, I was like, well, we're back, baby. Like Remedy understands that those parts were like kind of like the most memorable story parts of Max Payne 1 and 2 and Control. And it's just really, really nice to see them like really lean into that. So, and I've been listening to Colin's spoiler cast about Alan Wake 1. And if you guys don't know, you guys should check those out. They're good conversations. And it's made me realize, you know what, I think that was the right tactic. Like, I don't think it's a good idea to play Spider-Man 1 right before Spider-Man 2, because you get kind of Spider-Man burnout. Just like I don't think it's a good idea to play a Yakuza game and then you play the new Yakuza game, because you're going to get burned out. Yakuza burnout is real. I love the Yakuza games, but the burnout is real. And Spider-Man 2, burnout is real, right? For Yakuza games, Micah?
Yeah, I just got to take breaks from them. Like I have played 3 of them now. Or no, wow. I played 4 of them now. Like I played 0, Kiwami 1 and 2, and 6. But
we should do Yakuza spoiler cast with Micah.
We should at some point. Yeah. But yeah, and I needed a break between them. Sorry to interject. But I absolutely agree that like certain games have burnout, and I'd agree with Spider-Man for sure. Of like, you don't essentially need to remember the entire story from the previous Spider-Man. But you know, it's just one of those things of like, you'll remember stuff as you go. But as you mentioned, like Alan Wake 2 making all these references, if you feel out of the loop, it probably is a good idea to either watch an overview on YouTube, listen to a spoiler cast, or just go back and play it, because it's not the longest game in the world.
It's not the longest game in the world. It's pretty short and it's fun. That's why I want to play it versus just watch a YouTube version of it. Because like immediately in second one, there is an Alan Wake 1 reference. I'm like, oh my god, like I should have remembered who the character was, and I didn't. So I really need to go back to part 1, I think. So I feel like I'm going to actually put a pause on my 2 experience.
Whoa.
And get the remastered on PC, probably just jam it out on Steam Deck, I have to check how it runs though, because I know that the remastered had issues, and I'm having issues on the Xbox. There are audio
I
issues.
saw your tweets.
Yeah, every time I start a new game, like there's just no audio, so I have to like restart the game to like do it. And they're like, "Oh, is it quick resume?" I was like, "I don't do quick resume on Xbox. Or PS5." That's one thing. I never put my consoles on rest mode or sleep mode. I always hard shut them down when I'm down for the day. Obviously, if I'm playing throughout the day, which I do every day, then I'll put them in rest mode. But for the night, I put them all. I turn them all off. And so yeah, so it's been pretty buggy. But then I saw that the patch just went out today, so I'm excited to download that patch and get back in. There's a mechanic called the mind place, where the FBI agent is just kind of going in her mind and like arranging like the clues and evidence that she gets. And
it's like Charlie's whiteboard in the mailroom, and It's Always Sunny.
Exactly. It's basically like she's putting out the whiteboard and making all these connections and everything like that. It's a good mechanic, but I've been stuck there. Like I just wouldn't be able to leave. I wouldn't be able to exit. So I had to like restart and reload the entire game to be able to leave the mind place, which is crazy. So I'm really disappointed that it's so buggy on Xbox, especially since Alan Wake was originally an Xbox series. It was an Xbox exclusive. Did it ever even come out for PS3? I don't know.
I don't think so. Yeah, it didn't show up on PlayStation until the remaster.
Until the remaster. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's like, it's really too bad that Xbox got the shaft here on this one. Just like Callisto Protocol, it just feels like Xbox doesn't seem to really get the best like survival horror experiences, and it's just really disappointing. But I'm excited to get back into it. Really great game, really fascinating story, and I'm starting to see the hype. I was initially a little worried that I was like, maybe I might be like the outlier in this one, and it won't be that interesting. But as it's going along, I was like, oh no, this is working. This is working just good for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dustin, what do you think? What first chapter?
Oh man, it's just it has so much
great
style.
Title drop, right? Boom, boom, boom.
There's so much style. It feels cinematic in the right ways so far. And really, the end of the first chapter is it's like this very small, intense part, but it was very good. It was good. Holly was like, I can't watch you play this. Even for the small part, it's just too creepy. I'm like, okay,
it freaked me out. Yeah, it was like these guys really know how to end chapters, and they've been doing it so well ever since like the Max Payne games, and it's like you can tell that these guys are really good writers. It was funny to see Eurogamer, I think, just can't put out a review today talking about how the writing is overlong and like it needs an editor, and it's like,
oh yeah,
is this your first Remedy game? Like it's like going into a Kojima game and saying, oh, there's so many cutscenes or whatever. It's like, that's what we're here for, baby.
Yeah,
that's what we signed up for.
Yeah, dude, Remedy is awesome. I was a little less hot on Control, but I've been Max Payne. I somehow convinced my dad to let me play that game in 3rd or 4th grade. I remember the beginning where it's like, oh, his whole family dies. Like that's seriously the very beginning. That's the whole point of Max Payne. It's not a spoiler. Yeah. Take it easy. But yeah, his whole family's brutally murdered. But yeah, I love that game. So shout out to Remedy, of course. Not coming out on Nintendo Switch at all, but a game worth playing. Absolutely. So far, at least from chapter 1.
Are you playing on PC or?
Oh, I'm playing on PlayStation, mainly because I knew I didn't want to play it up here in my office, by myself, mainly. And I knew that I'd be fucking with the settings so much trying to get ray tracing. And I have a 3080, which is a great card.
It will work.
But it sounds like if you really want to run it with the ray tracing and stuff, you need something better. And again, it's better to just for me to remove the element of choice in this matter and just play it on PlayStation. And it looks great there too. The performance mode's really nice.
You know what? It should have been a hint to me that the PS5 code was offered like way earlier. So I probably could have even like maybe reviewed it if I wasn't like in the hospital last week or something, Right. But I probably could have reviewed it. But I was like, no, I want to play I want to play on the Xbox. This is an Xbox, like we played it on the Xbox. I have my Alan Wake 1 save on Xbox. I feel like I need to play it on Alan Wake 2, And
Yeah.
then the code came in hot. It came in on launch day, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll play it on launch day with everyone else. And
Yeah.
then it's all buggy. It's like, what the fuck? So I don't know.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm officially jealous of everyone enjoying it on PS5.
Gene, I
PC.
know you have another game that you've been checking out on Switch, so I'll sneak in here with a quick game that I have to shout out called Suika Game. And this game has kind of gone viral, like almost like Among Us in a way. Like, and it's not a game like Among Us, but think about like overnight, like what happened? Where's this game coming from? So Suika Game is a Japanese game that I read about. The background is that it originally was developed for this company's like a built-in game for a projector. And people were like, man, this game on this projector is awesome. So they're like, well, maybe we have something here. So they released it on Switch in Japan, and it became a huge success. And eventually, Western streamers started playing it, and people were getting Japanese eShop accounts to download this $3 game, this puzzle game. And so now there's a US release as well. You can go on the eShop. I think it was number 2 on the eShop. And so this game finally is it's part Tetris, part the game Threes, if you ever played that on iPhone, where you have a box and you're dropping fruit of different sizes. And so when the same type of fruit touches, it combines and it moves up the ladder. So it's like 2 cherries turn into a strawberry. 2 strawberries turn into grapes. 2 grapes turn into cantaloupe. But as they combine, they get bigger, take up more space in the box. So your goal is to get, of course, the highest score as possible. But like the biggest fruit that you can make is a watermelon. And that's a lot of people call this like it's the watermelon game.
Mm-hmm.
And so it seems it's so incredibly simple, like like all good puzzle games, so incredibly simple. You immediately get the concept, but then you realize you're like, oh, this has a lot of depth to it, because I don't want to stack fruit on top of other fruit that's going to stop me from combining it later. I also I got to figure out how do I make these specific fruit touch, because they'll combine. I don't want to have them separated across the box. And then game over is when the box is completely full and stuff starts spilling out. That's when it's over. Guys, for $3, this game is awesome. I started playing it. We bought another copy so Holly could play it on her Switch. My mom is playing it now. And during the road trip, I was like, Ben, you got to buy this. He's like, I'll buy any game for $3 that you recommend. So I'm in. Ben played it, I think, the entire weekend. I don't think he touched Mario Wonder. He was playing it the entire night that we were playing games. He played it like a good amount of time on the way home. So just give it a shot. $3. What do you have to lose on Suika Game?
I will. You know what? I'm surprised I'm only hearing about this now. Or I guess I wasn't. Yeah, right. I need to check this out. Well, I'm looking at Google Images. Clearly, a huge hit among the VTuber community.
Oh yeah, they really pushed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. If this is like another like underground like sneaker like sleeper Vampire Survivors type hit, and it looks cute as hell, I'm into it. I'm getting it right now.
It needs some quality of life stuff though. For example, you can't turn off the music. You just have to fully mute the game. Which I was thinking like, man, this is great. I could put on a record, but I like to hear the sound effects. It like keeps me more engaged. No, you got to hear the same 2-minute loop of a song over and over. So it's like one or the other. There are global leaderboards, but there's no friends leaderboard, that's the thing I really want with those. Like, dude, if I was seeing other people's scores creep up, which I'm behind right now, I think Holly has the best score of all of us with that, like 2,700. I'm only like just maybe not 27, maybe 17. I think it was 1,700. I'm only just over 1,000. So she's completely destroyed me. And I think Ben is higher than me as well already, but I want the leaderboards. So it still has some room to grow, but for $3, definitely check it out.
We got to check this out. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. What's the quote from RoboCop? He's like, I'd buy that for $1.
He's
like, no, you got me.
Yeah,
I'd buy that for $3. You have me. If Ben enjoyed this game, it was hooked on it, you got me.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. If Ben got that hooked for $3, that's a good endorsement. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of clones on iPhone too, which they're clones that use the exact same assets. I tried one and the physics felt slightly different.
I was about to say, this sounds like a perfect mobile game, but it's like Vampire Survivors. It sounds like they're just gonna be late on the ball,
Oh
So.
yeah. Check it out. But Gene, I don't know if you're prepped to talk about this, but Metal Gear, what's the Switch situation like?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, like I feel like that Metal Gear on the Switch is probably great because of the lower resolution. So if you just play on a handheld, then none of that matters, even though it's 30 FPS, and that's a bummer. Especially since MGS2 itself was 60 FPS, and that was one of the coolest things about MGS2 on the PlayStation 2. It was one of the first. I feel like it was one of the first 60 FPS games I've ever seen, besides like Zone of the Enders and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a huge bummer that is not that. But worse on a Switch is that none of the PlayStation games are on the cartridge. And so I pre-ordered this thing, assuming that at least in good faith, in poorly placed faith, that that MGS1 at least would be on the cart, man. But it's not. It's only Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear NES, and Metal Gear Snake's Revenge. Not even the fucking bonus content, bro. Is on the card, man. Like Konami was so cheap, and they got the smallest possible Switch cart, and then so people were wondering, hey, maybe the Japanese version or the Asia version is the same thing, right? Especially because the Japanese version, the size file is a little bit bigger. Nope, it's also the same thing. For some reason, the file size is bigger on the Japanese version, or the cart size is bigger on the Japanese version, but they did not do anything. So I actually had it pre-ordered in Play Asia. Again, poorly placed faith that MGS1 would be on the card, because I think having MGS1 on a Nintendo Switch card is worth having. That's worth preserving, right? But nope, sure enough, it's not. So really happy to still have this copy.
Oh wait, live Gene reaction.
This
oh
copy
yeah.
Of,
then the PS3 version.
The PS3 Legacy Collection. It has Metal Gear Solid, Metal Gear Solid 2, Solid Snake, Metal Gear Solid VR Missions, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, Snake Eater, Guns of the Patriots, Peace Walker, and Range Destiny, which I never even played before. But yeah.
Whoa, I've never heard what.
Yeah. But yeah, it's 2 discs. Look at it. Look at how spoiled we were back in the day.
Yeah.
It was 2 discs long. I couldn't believe it. So it's just a travesty on the Switch. And now I just own a cart with Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2, I guess. Which is, I guess, cool. I guess. I don't know. It's awful. So I'm gonna get it on PS5 eventually. But again, these are pretty low effort ports. I don't mind like that, the fact that MGS1 they haven't done anything to it. That's okay. I like the preservation aspect of it, And then for me, like everyone's always like, oh, the controls are outdated. Like people always said about the original Resident Evil 4. Oh, the controls are outdated, or MGS1, it's so outdated. It's not. I don't like to think of. I understand why you might think it's outdated, but like because I'm a boomer gamer, I don't want to call it outdated. It's just how the game plays. It's not outdated. Just learn how to play the game. That's it. Every game has a different set of rule sets. Not every game is going to be a goddamn third person behind over the shoulder a walking simulator, that's moving in twin sticks. Just learn how to play the game. That's how the game was designed. Metal Gear Solid 1 is a game of Pac-Man.
Yeah. I always think that I get it when especially when I went to play Metal Gear Solid 1 earlier this year. You just gotta try for a minute and then let your brain switch over. And eventually you're like, oh yeah, now it's not super fluid or anything. It's not like modern games, but you kind of just put yourself in the mindset and then it's fine. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
It's responsive. If it's not responsive, then yes, it's outdated and bad, right? But if it's responsive, then just learn it. Just get over the fact that it isn't like any other game. Learn how to play the game and just do it. MGS2 is fantastic. MGS2 I was obsessed over, and 3 I would get all the little frog statues in 3, and in 2 I literally didn't kill a single person. So that you get beating on European extreme without killing a single person, and making sure that you hold every single person up in the game, and they drop their dog tags. and then every boss fight is done with the tranquilizer gun.
Oh yeah.
Like I love that challenge. I love doing it. I was so obsessed with doing it, and it's one of my proudest challenges that I've ever done. Just beating those games on the hardest difficulty and just getting everything.
Yeah, no, Todd Howard could learn a thing or two. That's actually how a non-lethal playthrough is, unlike what he said for Starfield, where it's like, oh, you can play the game non-lethal.
Yeah.
No. Are you sure about that?
Starfield, you kill like 10
about that,
people
Todd?
within like the first like 10 minutes, Like there's no choice. You have to kill them,
Yep. All right, let's go ahead, move into our final portion of the show. I've got 2 listener questions for us today. First one from Christian. Says, hi, Punching Up crew, and congrats to Micah on your wedding. Do you remember the Player's Choice and Nintendo Selects branding? Games that get re-released at a budget price. I noticed many early Switch games are still $60, with the Switch being on the market for almost 7 years. Do you think we will ever see the return of this branding? Would love to get a copy of Super Mario Odyssey for $20. Cheers. No, this is never, ever coming back. Well, at least not anytime soon. We live in a new era now, right? Like,
look at the eShop. You can buy Super Mario Bros. Wonder for $60, or you can buy new Super Mario Bros. U, a game that's 11 years old, for $60.
Yeah,
same thing, same price. Different games, different generations. People have been born and died in between Super Mario Bros. Wonder and Super Mario Bros. U, and they're still both $60. Entire lives have lifespans have passed.
Right. Yeah, Mike, did you ever get any of these games? I remember I would get some of the PlayStation greatest hits, and I was happy to get games no matter what. Growing up, not a lot of opportunities to get games, but I always hated that green box.
They always they shame you, bro. They shame you for buying them. The
oh no, version. I loved those because so like the PlayStation one, so where it was like the red like case
for PS3.
And I would always call it and I'd always be like, it's my little shot of paprika on my gaming shelf. I was the weirdo who loved those, and I was also the weirdo who just liked the Nintendo Selects or whatever boxes.
The red
I thought
case
they
was
were just
cool.
fun.
The red case was cool.
Yeah, and well, I don't know, for the Nintendo ones, I just liked that the cover was slightly different. It's like, oh, I'm buying, it's not a special edition of the game, but it is, in its own way. Mm-hmm. But no, to your point, Christian, this console's been on the market for 7 years, and these games are still full price. It's not going to happen, I don't think. Maybe when whatever the next console comes out, then they'll be like, hey, we could sell this one. But it's like, as you mentioned, Gene, like the digital prices are not going down. I don't see why they would do this. I just don't think they have to. I don't know. I would like to see them again because I was the weirdo who just loved getting those versions of the games, but I don't think it's coming back. Certainly not now if it hasn't already.
I think it's funny. I think the closest thing we're going to get is that deal on the eShop where you buy 3 games and you get them 33% off or something like that. That was a recent deal they introduced this year. So that's kind of maybe a discount that they're willing to throw you a little bit of a bone. But yeah, I think they know full well that new people buying a Switch, they still want to play these games. So they haven't lost any intrinsic value at all just because of age. They're still desired by, and I guess it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it sucks that people can't save some money, but same time, these games are just as good as the day they came out, and they're still just as desirable. So Nintendo has really put themselves in a situation where, their content remains desirable in the eyes of the consumer. And I'm sure that both Xbox and PlayStation in particular, I mean, Xbox has a different strategy, but PlayStation would love to keep their lit games for $70 for as long as possible. And some of them, I think they definitely have stretched that out with PS5, but not to Nintendo level.
Have you guys ever talked about Sacred Symbols about why PlayStation discounts their games fairly quickly? Like, why don't they? Like, Colin's always talked about how much he admires Nintendo for never dropping the price. And it's like, yeah, why doesn't PlayStation just do that? If you just want to buy The Last of Us Part 1, you should just pay $60 for it. It's a great game,
Yeah, I think that might have to do with just being a different type of gamer that buys a PlayStation where there may be some old, like, the original, or God of War Ragnarok, I think is a game that's going to be kind of evergreen for them. But I think of other stuff where like Demon Souls Remake is amazing. I think one of the best games on PS5, but I think when someone's going to buy a new user for PS5 is, I don't think that's like top priority for them. Their top priority is Spider-Man 2 probably right now. If you're buying a PlayStation 5 right now, like let's just look, let's see how much God of War is right now on the PlayStation Store. God of War Ragnarok. I mean, that's still 70.
Okay.
Right now. I just think they're more open to putting things on temporary sales, which Nintendo does do. You'll see a few games knock $10 or $15 off a few times a year.
Off, man, that's the most.
Yeah. But they're holding on to that price. So sorry, Christian, I don't think you're getting your Switch selects. Maybe when the next Switch comes out, maybe they'll do that. But
they are the most profitable video game company for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know what? If they ever do that, maybe then McDonald's will bring back the chicken selects, which
that's synergy.
I still miss those. I still miss those.
Why did you even mention that? I completely forgot they existed, but they were so good, especially with the sauces.
I could never forget them.
The sauces? Oh my god!
Let's go over.
So upset.
You've ruined Gene's day. His disappointment is immeasurable, and his day is ruined.
Yeah, I'm very much report of the week now.
Yeah. This last question.
I still watch his videos too,
dude.
Oh, he's great. He's amazing.
I always start watching his videos. I love him. I think he's hilarious, but I can never finish one.
No,
I'm like, I've had enough.
You know what? You're right.
It's like a deep dish pizza.
You're right. I've never actually finished one before. I'm always in the middle, and then I get the review. For some reason, I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting to hear what he thinks. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay, I think I'm good now. So.
Holly and I have had extensive conversations on whether or not he's doing a bit or not. I don't think he is. I think he is authentically himself.
Yeah. See, I discovered him before he was on Tosh.0. And so like when he was on that, I was like, oh my God, it's that guy I watch on YouTube, right? And then his videos got like even bigger.
Yeah.
But it was like, he seems like he genuinely just enjoys a taste of the high life. This kid likes to be dressed up like he's in the 1950s and slick his hair back and have his fancy cups. Like it seems like a genuine version of like the cottagecore women who were like, they wear everything they wear is like a beret and a cardigan sweater and like they little mushrooms on it and shit. Like it seems genuine, like goth kids or something, man. Like he's just fancy boy. I like it. I think it's real.
Yeah. Check out shout out Report of the Week.
I've seen some edits of him where they cross gender him or they change his gender.
Oh, yeah.
Just make his hair a little bit longer and just put some makeup. And I'm just like, you know what? Hear me out, man.
Hear me out.
Hear me out, And it was a shot of him in the hospital when he was like hospitalized. So I was like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I was like, God damn it. Am I going to go Shinji on him,
On that note, Steve Manns writes in and says, hey there, Goomba Gushers. The holiday Goomba Gushers. Yeah, that's something. With the holidays quickly approaching, do you find yourselves feeling nostalgic for certain games or a console catalog of games? I'll go first here real quick. My Nintendo nostalgia, I have a few. So I'll just pick one. It's got to be getting Mario Galaxy for Christmas that year. And that was my Christmas break. I played Mario Galaxy for basically 5 days straight, beat it before I got back to school. And it was a great time. My mom was kind of mad. She's like, we bought you that game and you already are done with it. I'm like, yeah, but it was awesome. I don't regret a single moment of that. And I always think about that Christmas. Was that 2007 or 8? Gene, do you remember Mario Galaxy release year?
Yeah, it's about 2007. I think 2007. Yeah, it's got to be 2007.
2007. Yeah. So I was in 8th grade that year.
Huge year for games. That was like one of the 2023 year good games, like good years for games.
Yeah, Micah, you were nodding along. Do you have a particular memory that you want to share?
Yeah, and I'll preface, it's not Nintendo related holiday memory, but so I'm a big Call of Duty fan. Okay, There is nothing better than being an adult. You bought yourself Call of Duty And then Christmas rolls around and all the Christmas noobs arrive, all the kids who had to wait for it to get the game from their parents. And you just have the best week ever, just destroying all these new players. For me, like, that's Christmas. All right. It's like booting up Call of Duty on Christmas and the next few days and just destroying all those kids. That's awesome for me. And that's what I look forward to every year.
The Christmas scrubs, you know?
Yes.
It's a national holiday.
I have such a growing, deep appreciation for Micah as a person. I did not know that she was like that vindictive and petty. And also seeing her dance her ass off like during the wedding, I was like, look, she's got some moves, man, and she knows every song. Like, I love it, you know.
The dancing was my favorite part. Yeah.
Yeah, you kept dancing the whole night. It was great. Like, Colin was not dancing at all. So.
No, he came out for one song, which actually shocked me, which was Right Round by Flow Rider, which played pretty early. And I knew he liked that song, but I didn't expect him to come out and dance for it. And he like came right out onto the floor for that. He's like, oh, I wouldn't miss that one.
Good.
But no, he wasn't interested in, Mambo number 5 and some of the other hits I put on there. But no, we had a great time on the dance floor. The DJ did an excellent job.
Yeah, that was forever will be remembered. I love the whole crew there. Well, not the whole crew, but a lot of the crew there. Seeing Hogue.
Most of the
Chris
crew
was dead, but Hogue was there too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that was epic.
That's awesome.
Gene, any holiday memories stick out for you?
Yeah. Ironically, it was a Mario RPG. That was one of the most memorable Christmas gifts. I remember waiting for it, and my mom actually hid it from me because she wanted me to wait for Christmas, and I found it. And I just started playing it. So I'm really, really looking forward to Mario RPG. Nintendo actually offered me a review code. I'm not going to take it because I don't think I can like write anything up for it. Actually, you know what? Maybe I still could because my procedure is only just next Wednesday. I could just like play it now and just write something up real quick. It's Mario RPG, right? Maybe I'll just take it. Screw it. Okay, I'll email Nintendo back after this. But Mario RPG was really huge for me. So I'm really, really excited to revisit that, I guess, soon. And in terms of Christmas memories, it's always a Zelda. Like, I feel like Zelda and Christmas just goes perfect together. I kind of wish that I grew up like around snow because I feel like that would even enhance the coziness of having a Zelda game and being, just burritoed up in blankets. It's cold outside. And you got nowhere to go, so you might as well just go on an adventure in Zelda. So I'm actually kind of looking. I want to revisit Tears of the Kingdom. It's been a long time, and I played that for like 250 hours. So obviously I've had my fill of it. And I pretty much I think I completed everything. I got every single battery cell, every single heart container, every single secret. But I do have. Remember when I said I was raw dogging Zelda, right? In the
yes.
Oh, we remember.
I was gonna say unforgettable.
Yeah, in the Switch that hasn't been connected to the internet at all, and it just has the 1.0 version of Tears of the Kingdom. That's still going on, and that's still a save that's ongoing. So I might actually just return to that one and finish that completely like untouched internet version of the Switch and Zelda. And I think I'll keep that Switch offline forever and just use that as like my physical like mecca, in terms of like these are all where all the 1.0 games are going to go, and I can use that to test like the 1.0-ness of every Switch game that comes out for I guess the next few months or whatever, or any game that has come out since, like I tried playing Mortal Kombat 1 without any downloads. And because it's one of those games that you need to download to play the full game, right? So the story mode is not on the Mortal Kombat 1 cart, but you do get 8 characters, and you do get the tutorial mode, and you can play versus. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's not bad. It's just off the cart,
Right. It's something. It's better than nothing.
That's one more character than the original Mortal Kombat one from 1994 or whatever, So
yeah. Cool. Well, that's it for this episode of Punching Up. Again, obviously very much missing Dagan, but he will be back next episode. So look forward to that. And thanks everybody for listening. Of course, thank you, Micah and Gene, for hanging out and talking about video games. And of course, patreon.com/laststandmedia, where you can join us for just $5 a month. And of course, if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine too. But leave us a thumbs up, a like, give us a good review. All that stuff really helps us out. And the other thing, I always forget to say this, is that if you like the show, one of the best number one things you could do for us is just tell a friend about it and recommend it to people. I always find that I've, had many podcasts recommended to me. I've recommended many podcasts and gotten people into them. And that's one of the biggest things you can do to help us grow this show out. It's still our first year. So still hoping to grow some of that base. But of course, for you guys that hear already, we really, really appreciate it. And we'll be back. I almost forgot. Closing comments and thoughts. That's so essential. Micah, any final thoughts?
Oh, the only thing I want to say that we kind of forgot, Dagan had said, tell everybody how much I love Wonder so far. It's bananas.
Oh,
so
right.
Dagan says the game is bananas. BANANAS. I had to put that in there.
Mm-hmm.
Very in keeping with the themes of the music that DJ played at the wedding too, which I really appreciated. I liked hearing all the Lady Gaga and everything too.
Oh yeah, I mean that was all. I made like a.
Was that
I
your
didn't
playlist?
put too much. Oh yeah, like I didn't put too much on the must play list because the stipulation for that was he'll play it even if people don't dance. So the must playlist was the surefire things like my favorite song Carry Out or also like Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. Okay. I was like, people are going to dance to that.
Did you see that?
Then they had a second.
Did you see that that song was voted the #1 pop song of all time by Billboard?
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
No.
It was ranked the best pop song ever made. And people saw that, and I saw that too. And I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah.
I think so.
Even over Michael Jackson, I would say too,
No, it was incredible. And just real quick, there was a secondary playlist basically where I put like things I would very much like to hear. He played most of the songs off that list. He added in a couple that I didn't have, like the line dances, for example. But otherwise, those were all songs that I put on there, save maybe like 4 that I didn't pick.
Very cool.
Yeah. It was, man, so awesome. Dude, and what's funny too is I was saying on the Constellation release day, I was like, yeah, you shouldn't video people on the dance floor. And then I posted a video that Gene took. So I am
it was so good.
Immediately a hypocrite before the episode even came out. I did that. So that's in the Discord.
Not a
Another
hypocrite.
reason.
You were just shown a different way. Like, you know what? No, I should video this because that moment, that was epic. And that absolutely needed to be seen.
I had to record it too. I didn't really want to record people on the dance floor too. Like I'm kind of in the same mentality, but I was like, Dustin's cutting up and then Mr. Brightside's playing. I gotta record this.
Yes.
Like, even if it's just to keep it within the family, so.
Yeah, Dustin, when Simple and Clean came on, you and I, first of all, had a moment because like I knew you were going to hear
like across
it.
The
and
room,
I looked
like,
at you
hey!
and I pointed at you like, and that was perfect. And you took this a little video of it just to prove it happened. Yeah. That was essential.
And I love that Colin is getting up at the end of the video. And people are like, is he going up to tell the DJ to turn that shit off?
It's over. Everyone go home. Yeah. Everyone go
home. Gene, closing thoughts.
Or
whatever.
Just leaving with a lot of good energy. Next week, I'm going to have my procedure to zap this very, very early and small tumor out of my lungs. So I might miss the next episode because I need to give my voice a break. Maybe, who knows? We'll see. But yeah, thanks so much for everyone for supporting. Yeah, please tell a friend. We're the newest Nintendo podcast on the scene. And we like to stick around, and we will stick around. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Oh, did I miss? Did I cut you off? I'm sorry.
No, that's it.
Oh no, okay, sorry.
Yeah, let's go.
We're all flustered here at the end. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you. We'll be back very soon in a fortnight. So until next time, goodbye. Punching Up, a Nintendo podcast, is a product of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC. And is proudly recorded in the USA. The show is written and produced by me, Dustin Furman. My co-hosts are Gene Park, Dagan Moriarty, and Micah Watson. The show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. Punching Up, along with the rest of Last Stand Media shows, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer level on Patreon, our highest tier, and we're grateful for your kind contributions and generosity to our independent endeavor. Thank you.